Hi, everyone. It's the interview queen, Alicia Atout here, and it is my absolute pleasure to welcome you all to my interview with mountain dog John Meadows. Hello.
Hi, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you doing, and how are you holding up over there?
Well, I'm in Ohio, so we're open, like everything's still in business, but we just have precautions we have to take. But we're still allowed to do things and go out. And as you've probably seen, my kids are playing football, so we're doing okay.
I'm really happy to hear that. And I love the little post you've been doing with your family, whether it's you guys scootering together or the fact that it's football season. So, has that kind of been one? We were talking about silver linings actually before we started recording, but has that been a silver lining for you? Almost it's been like an excuse. Hey, you can take a little bit of a breather with this whole pandemic going on and spend more time away from work.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so I don't think it's healthy at all for kids to be kind of stuck indoors all the time and not doing anything. And you can certainly go outside, but they weren't really allowed to see their friends a while back, when the lockdown was really in effect. And, I could see, like, in my kids, I could see it affecting their moods, and they were in, kind of in a depressed state a little bit. And we were trying to do things with them, but I think they need to be social and out and doing things. So I'm really, really happy that they didn't cancel our football season, because it's one way for them to get out and have fun. And I remember, like, the first day of football practice, like seeing all the kids, how excited they were to just see other kids. It was really good to see. So it's been good, and thankfully we're not as locked down as some of the other states.
No, that's really awesome to hear. Because when this quarantine first hit, funny enough, you were actually one of my go-to channels to watch for at-home workouts. So, how was it for you kind of adapting to all of those resistant band workouts at home rather than being in a real gym for a while, kind of what you were more used to?
Yeah, so I didn't want to continue to make videos in a gym. Number one, I'm really not supposed to be in any gyms, but because I didn't think it sent a good message to people, like, hey, I'm going to do a workout in the gym, you can't do it. So I just tried to adapt, like you said, adapt and figure out, well, what are some of the things people can do at home. And I tried to build some really easy workouts that people could do from home, just to keep them doing something, right? I mean, something's always better than nothing. And I was kind of unsure how that would go, but I got really good feedback on it. So I did several of them, and I'm glad I did, because it at least gave people an outlet to do some kind of training, some kind of working out. So it was first time I've ever done something like that, but I think it was a good decision. And now most people are pretty much allowed back in gyms. So now I think we're now kind of on the down slope of the hill now.
Yeah, and easing back into more videos from the actual gym too.
Mhm. Yep.
Well, you have a ton of training programs available for people as a coach, including a new one for kids actually, which is had, recently launched. So for you, who do you kind of feel is harder to work with, the kids or the adults when training?
Oh, that's a good question. Oh boy, that's a good question. Man, I got to think about that. Um, well, kids. So what I do with kids, it's more plyometric based and things like that, to teach them how to, control their bodies, how to accelerate, how to explode, how to slow down, how to move laterally. Just it's kind of more body movement for younger kids. And there is a huge difference in kids. Some kids get it real quick, and some kids don't. For example, I have two kids. One of my kids is really athletic, and I mean, he's like a little Spider-Man. But the other kid, his twin brother, who's 30 or 40 pounds bigger than he is a much, much slower. He's not as coordinated. Now, you can say the same thing with adults, though. I can teach adults how
True.
to train, and some pick it up real easy and some don't. So that's probably not a good comparison. But I would say overall, I really enjoy working with kids, just because I like working with kids in general. And I don't do as much of that as I would like to, but I do a fair amount of it. I do work with athletes. I do work with kids. So I love working with everybody. I mean, I've done it my whole life. But if I had to say, like, if I really had to narrow it down, I really like working with kids. And it's not even just training, it's having an impact on them. It's just giving them good life experience. It's being a good role model for them. It's things like that too. Certainly, you can do that with adults too. I'm just saying I like to be able to have some impact on kids and how they think and how they grow up.
Well, hopefully with this new training program, you'll be able to work with even more of them and continue to influence a lot of people. Because it's amazing how much your fan base has grown over the years and how much you genuinely do help people, whether it's kids or, people like me or people who have to be slightly older. Like it's amazing how many people follow your program. So congratulations on that, because I know that's
Yeah,
not an easy feat to grow.
well, I mean, it's a pretty wide demographic. I mean, I get messages from teenagers all the time. I get messages from mom and dads wanting me to work with their kids. And then I get messages from guys in their 70s saying, hey, your programs are keeping me going and I'm not beating my body up. So it's a really wide demographic it used to be just kind of the hardcore bodybuilders, but it's really expanded and a lot of women as well. I mean, I remember when my analytics used to be like 3% women and now it's a lot higher than that. And I get a lot of messages from women. So it's pretty neat just seeing how the demographic has expanded. And I like that. It just means I can hopefully impact more people.
No, definitely. And since we're kind of talking to that fan base that you have acquired, not only does it come with those really wonderful people who write you, but when you have that many people following you, there are a lot of crazy minds and crazy comments that come with it. So what would you say is one of the funniest or weirdest things that you've read about yourself online or in the comment
Oh,
section?
man, another good question. Well, I get compared to Luke Skywalker every day.
Do
Uh,
you?
every day. I mean, I've had thousands of comments calling me the buff Mark Hamill and Luke Skywalker. And like, I get
That's so
that
funny.
all the time. That's the one that kind of jumped out at me when you mentioned that. I mean, every one of my videos, there's Luke Skywalker comments. I actually, in some of my videos, I've tagged on Instagram, I've tagged him to see if he'd respond, but he hasn't responded yet. So
Not yet. It'll happen. There'll come a day.
someday, yeah.
I saw some of your shirts almost like poking fun at that, but for me, it's like I never really put two and two together until genuinely hearing it, and I see it. I can't lie, I do see it.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Well, we've covered a bit of the training aspect of your life and that influence you have had on people, but of course, you've competed in bodybuilding since you were around 13 years old, which isn't something you hear too frequently in this business. So, at such a young age, what already had attracted you to the sport and made you think, okay, I'm going to kind of step out from the normal things that people this age are doing and get right into bodybuilding?
I just, you know what? There's no great story behind it. I just looked at magazines one day and I saw the bodybuilders and I just thought this is really cool. And I remember taking a magazine to school with me and I don't know what grade I was in, probably the seventh grade. And I remember everybody else going, ew, that's gross. That's gross. And I was like, no, it's not. It's really cool.
It's cool.
It's, so I just like, for me, I just love bodybuilding from day one. And, it's not like nobody was picking on me or I wasn't trying to impress the girls or anything like that. I just really, really liked bodybuilding. I just really enjoyed it. And probably that's why I still do it at 48 years old now. It's just something I really, really enjoy. And I've always just been real passionate about it.
What did your friends think of it all back then? You being a fairly young kid on the road to bulking up and then being on stages and competing. Like, what was their kind of opinion on all of that?
You know what? I had like the guys I hung out with were goofy. They were like the class clown types.
Okay.
And so, they're always running around and they're posing beside me and they're making fun in a good way, right? So my friends would go to shows with me, and then when the show was over, I remember they'd get up on stage in their shirts and they were posing and having fun. Like, they didn't really lift weights, but we had fun. They had fun, and so they supported me. They didn't tell me I was dumb or anything like that, but we had a good time. I remember the first show I won as a teenager. I remember my friends were there, and you know, we just had a really good time. So, and I was in sports. I was in football at the time. I was in wrestling. I was in track. So I was doing a lot. I mean, I was really busy, and I didn't feel like the coaches in most of those sports even knew how to strength train. So I would go to practice, and then I would leave there a couple times a week and go lift weights as well. So I was really, really busy, and I was working really hard.
Busy.
Yeah.
That's amazing. One thing that I did want to ask you about is I co-host a show with Kevin Lavroni, and we recently had Lee and Hunter Labrada on. And something that Kevin turned to Hunter and asked was, "Hey, when did you kind of realize that your dad was famous?" Because Hunter would be at these shows when Lee was, or when he was really young. So for you, your kids obviously by now are at the age where they know what you do. They know that you have this online presence. I'm sure you get recognized in public by some of your fans. So for them, what's that like, having a dad that isn't kind of doing the exact, like normal thing, and does get recognized and is, really well known online?
Yeah, so it's funny, like when I see people out and people will say, "Hey, I watch your YouTube videos," or anything, my kids are kind of used to it now. They're just kind of like, "Oh, whatever. It's just another person saying hi." So they're kind of used to it. But what's funny is like their school teachers and different people, like when I go to the school meetings and things, they'll be like, "Oh, you're the famous guy that your kids are always telling the other kids their dad's famous and all this stuff." And so it's kind of funny. And then what's really funny is like their friends all follow me, like on YouTube. And
Do they?
so it's really funny. So, there's all these 10, 11, 12-year-olds that follow me that are friends with my kids. And just another reason for me to, be very mindful of what I'm talking about. And because I get a lot of comments from people that have families saying, "We really appreciate you keeping it clean and having something that everybody can watch." But it's funny though, the little kids are all like, "Hey, we know who he is, and which is kind of funny to me.
That must make you feel proud though, the fact that they're not hiding it and they're like, yeah, this is my dad. He's the cool guy online.
Well, I haven't competed in a long time. It's been 3 years, and Alexander asked me the other day. He was like, "Hey, when are you going to compete again?" And I was like, "Not anytime soon." And he's like, "Well, I really liked it when we traveled because I used to take him travel. Like, I took him to Alaska, I took him to California. I mean, I took him all over the country when I competed. I always took him with me, and we would always stay there wherever I competed at. We would stay there for a little while and have like a little vacation. So." We haven't been on a vacation in a while now with everything's going on. And so they're like, "Yeah, I want you to compete again just so we can have another vacation." I was like, "Well, we can still have a vacation without me competing." So,
Well, hopefully things will clear up fairly soon and you guys can do that kind of trip again, minus the actual competitions.
yes, exactly.
Well, the last thing I want to ask you about is your nickname, because I did introduce you as Mountain Dog. It's how you are known to everybody. So is that a nickname that you had given yourself, or did someone actually coin you that earlier on?
Well, so what happened was I'm a big dog lover, and I particularly like Bernese Mountain Dogs. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with the breed.
Yeah.
They're from the Canton of Bern in Switzerland. They have a very striking appearance. The tri-collaring they have anyways, Bernese Mountain Dogs, I love them. So I got my first Bernese Mountain Dog many, many years ago, and she was actually a show dog. We actually used to take her to shows, but I was on the forums as Mountain Dog One, but it was just in reference to me loving Bernese Mountain Dogs. And so I would talk about, here's what I think about training and here's what I think about nutrition. And all these people started saying, "Do you do mountain dog training to other people?" And it kind of like, I guess people kind of just started using that terminology. And then I remember when I was going to start my website, I remember like thinking, should I really call it Mountain Dog? Like, because it's called Mountain Dog Diet. And, some people are like, no, because when people search for you, they're literally just going to get pictures of dogs. And I was like, you know what? I've always done well and I just trusted my gut. And I just kind of went with the flow. And I actually love the name. I love the fact that people like that. And I love Bernese Mountain Dog. It's very personal to me. So I kept the name. And even though people are like, "Don't do it, nobody's ever going to find you on the internet if you do that." And I'd say it worked out pretty well. So, but that's where the name came from my love for Bernese Mountain Dogs. And, people are always like trying to figure out like, where, did you used to live in the mountains? And I'm like, no.
Right.
It's a good question. Yeah.
Thank you. I was trying to find some correlation to it. I was trying to search up your history. I'm like, where could this have come from? And then the fact that it's such a genuine and like sweet approach to a nickname, I love that story so much.
Yeah.
Well, John, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time and for coming on here. I'm sure everyone watching has learned so much about you, and I know how busy you are, so I really appreciate you coming on here. So thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. I'm glad. Anytime. Just holler.
Thank you, everyone. This has been the incredible John Meadows. I am the interview queen, Alicia Atout. Be sure to check out aliciaatout.com for all exclusive interviews and features, and we will see you all next time. Bye, everyone.